everyone. Welcome to Lív Ulven podcast. My name is Cher, and this is a mostly knitting podcast with a little spinning, dyeing, weaving thrown in on occasion. Today we are all knitting except for one crochet project. So I have a couple of finished objects. I will update you on two of my works in progress. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the make-along that will start in June. So we'll talk about that at the end, and a little bit of kind of what I'm thinking about casting on, and some a little bit of inspiration, and then I'll share that a little more in depth in a future episode. So let's get started with finished objects. So, got just three, they're all accessory type objects. So I will start first. This is probably the older one. I realized I have never shared my emotional support chicken here. So for lack of creativity, I call her Henny Penny because that's the name that I just thought of as for chickens growing up. And anyway, she's very cute. It's a fun project. I actually started her, sometime, it might have even been last fall, and then kind of didn't finish it. But I've used all scraps. This is Fleece and Harmony. Can't think of their main line. Anyway, I will put it here. Sorry about that. I think I did that last time. For the most part, this is some Holzgarn held double for the reds. This black is Holzgarn, and then the two, the Bramble and I'm trying to remember the name of that colorway. It is the Fleece and Harmony. Worse than that name I can never remember, but I love it. Anyway, she's very squishy. She is stuffed totally with ends, fleece, second things I've brushed out of the fleece that would not have been other used, and yarn ends. So I keep all of my yarn ends in jars in a cabinet, and finally had a project to put them in, which was awesome. So so she was fun, I'm not a big amigurumi or stuffy. That's not my go-to knitting, but I wanted to do one, and it was fun. I'm glad I did it. I don't really see myself doing another one. Many people knit multiples of them, but it is a fun project. If you're new to short rows, it's a really good project. Quick, more or less quick project to, and I think it's knit on like a US 6, so knits up relatively quickly. But it'd be a good for like learning short rows in garter, which was helpful. I think it's wrap and turn short rows, as I recollect. So there's that project. The next finished objects I have are two dishcloths. And these were both just spur of the moment. Literally this one here, I was sitting upstairs waiting for my husband to do something, and my flatbed knitting machine was out, and I had this cotton, I think this is Crafter's cotton, and I just threw it on the bulky flatbed knitting machine, knit a few rows. I was really happy that I was able to cast it on without looking, knit it, get it off, and it was like 10 minutes, not even, on and off, and the longest part is putting it on, taking it off, and then I just knit this little crochet border around it. So it's actually a nice size. I put a little loop on, so I think it's fun to look at how different this, so this was a little bit wider, right? So it changed the gauge and changed the way the striping pattern is a little bit, which is kind of fun. So this is a little bit bigger. I really was just trying to use it up. Probably is a little bit big, but they're nice just to have a little something. So I can envision, and this Crafter's Cotton is the Hobby Lobby brand. So I know there's like Sugar and Cream. I think Knit Picks Dishy is another one. I think the Dishy and this one are the softer of them. So like I heard some people say they like them actually as like face, body washcloths or face washcloths. So I can envision though getting coordinating yarn and being able to do like dishcloth and hand towel set, woven hand towel set would be kind of nice for gift knit. So that's those. And then the last finished object I have is this project bag. This is the Float Tote, which is a pattern by Natalia of Natty fame, and she actually just finished a crochet along for this. I am really not a crocheter. I don't particularly enjoy it, but I did have one of these and I wanted another one, and she was releasing a pattern update with a really good tutorial. So what I will say, it was great. The tutorial was very good to help you really learn how to read your stitches. It walked you through each step. So within the bag itself, it has this, she designed it originally for color work knitting, so that you would have these yarn cups that your ball of yarn can sit in, your skein your cake, right, sat in, and you could take it out, and rotate it or rotate your bag. They're on here with little snaps. So this is just, again, different crochet cotton and just fits in the bottom. So this is the 3 skein size Float Tote, and there's a 5 skein, and then she also has a family of ones like I think 1 and 2 skein maybe, smaller ones. So I like the bag very much. I don't use the insert all that much on my other one either. I went ahead and did it just because it's nice to have from a versatility standpoint. I actually end up often putting like my stitch markers and measuring tape and so forth in one of the cups, but just sort of a nice, sort of different. This is a spike stitch, so I learned that's a little bit different, but otherwise it's just single crochet and single crochet increasing and decreasing. But really good pattern tutorial to kind of like take you through it step by step. So if you're looking to try out a little crochet project, I would highly recommend it. We had a lot of fun with the crochet along, seeing different ways people put together the different colors and different types of yarn, and so it was really a fun community that she ran it on Discord. So if you like that sort of thing, I'd keep an eye on her channel, and be fun to join in on another future project. She was actually very involved and quite gracious with her time and checking in and stuff, which was really, really nice. So that is all the finished objects. All right, so a little bit of works in progress, and apologize, I just looked at that first clip and realized I'm having a much harder time looking at the camera, so I'll try to do better about that. It's a little bit harder to get oriented on this setup, but anyway. So a couple updates. I will update you just kind of where we are with Móinéar. So again, this is a pattern that I've been knitting by Ailbíona McLochlainn. I've talked about in the last couple of episodes. And so where I am with this now is I have knit the first sleeve. I've finished the second sleeve but not knit the cuff, and stitch marker in there. And so, interestingly, I think this is really the first time I've ever done a straight sleeve. I know I hear people talk about they just love them, but it's the first time I've ever really done it. There's like one decrease right here, which is really because of the sizing of my yoke. And then you just knit, 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 which is kind of a nice, it was just a nice rhythm. Got it on, I think I had 12-inch circular needles. And then you do a rapid decrease to the cuff. So without giving away the pattern, the rapid decrease went down to still was, I thought, really big for a cuff. Like the sleeve I actually really, really like. And I like the balloon that you get here, but I always find that, that's not a good example. I have a big cuff on. I like really big sleeves, or I like them to fit. Anyway, so I wanted the cuff smaller. So I actually went down an additional needle size to a US 3, and this is pretty stout DK weight yarn. This is Woolly Mammoth Fiber Co. Natural DK. And so actually, which made this, and then I actually decreased an additional 8 stitches on the cuff. So I actually shrunk the cuff quite a lot with my modifications. So it's actually, if I do it backwards, it's a fairly snug, but that's just perfectly fine for me for like a normal wear. It was a bit of a bear to knit because you are doing like a purl 2 knit 1 color work. Which for me, I'm a continental knitter, and I do, I think they call it Eastern Cross for my, normally when I do color work, I carry all the colors in my left hand, and which works fine if you're just knitting, or even if you're just purling, but to do the knit and the purl together was really, I would have been dropping, would have to drop the yarns. It's kind of awkward. So I have not been successful relearning how to throw, which is how I learned to knit. But I did kind of sit down and sort of came back to me. So I ended up with the contrast color knitting, throwing. I still had to, the way that I hold the needles in the yarn, my hands are tucked, so I can't hold that, that throwing finger out. So I do still drop the yarn, but I just picked up through that loop over anyway. So this was, I think, 2 evenings, and I haven't got back to the other one yet. But anyway, so I'm only down to the cuff there, and then just need to finish off the body. So that is almost done, and the body is just straight stockinette and then plain rib. There's no patterning there. So we'll be done with that one soon. I am trying to give my hand a little bit of a rest. I was doing that and the crocheting. The crocheting, particularly with that cotton, is very hard on my hand as well. So I've kind of gave this a little bit of a rest when I finish that one cuff, and I'll come back and finish the other one next week probably, and then we'll get that one done and put away for the summer. So that is the Móinéar. My other main whip in progress is, and I've really been enjoying knitting on this one in between with the other projects, is the Hap baby blanket, is kind of what I'm calling it. So this is a hybrid knit project. See if I got some stoppers on today, so maybe I can give you a little bit better look. This is a corner. Let's see. There you go. So you're starting to see a little bit of this feather and fan detail detail come through, and which I just love. So I knit the center, so it's a diamond shaped center. You're just getting a piece of it here, kind of the top, because of the cord that it's on. And then the border is going around the outside. So this is a great, if you've not done this stitch, I just am finding, and I normally use 4-inch knitting needles, and I'm actually using 5-inch on this, which is kind of nice for the, just having the weight of the blanket. It gives you a little more leverage. So I'm really enjoying this because most of the rows you're either just knitting or just purling with maybe a yarn over in there. And then there's one kind of really active row about every maybe 4 to 6 rows, maybe 6 rows that create the feather and fan pattern. So like a little bit of lace, but not hard. So I'm really enjoying that project. One of my longer term plans is to process the fleece, spin the yarn, and knit a hap shawl from a Jacob fleece, that Jacob wool fleece that I've got. And I think in my head that's just this monumental project, which I don't know. I mean, I've knit a hap before, but it's just been a while. And I think shawls kind of feel like they take forever, but honestly, I mean, this one's knitting up so fast and I'm enjoying it so much that I kind of just need to get on with that. I've started the spinning. It's the processing. The processing just takes a while, but I think I've decided like there's no point in like trying to process it all, spin it all, knit it all. Like you can kind of do it a little bit at a time because you can't do all those things all at once anyway. So so more to come on that in the future. That would be a good feature vlog. So those are my 2 main whips in progress. Talk a little bit now about the tanks, tees and tanks cowls. Cowl is what I believe I called it. So, or make along. Tees and tanks make along. Kind of started off thinking about doing a summer tee type cowl. I've talked about that the last couple of episodes. I got some nice interest response from folks, but I do have some Southern Hemisphere watchers. So hello out there to everybody. And actually, I have a fair number of new subscribers from my last video. So thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you everyone for left a comment on the last video. I love that engagement, so please do continue to weigh in. I did get some really good feedback for my Richmond Hill sweater, so I will talk about that in a future episode. But some people really took the time to really give me some nice detailed feedback, and I really, really do appreciate it. And I believe I've responded to everybody. I really enjoy that quite a lot, so please keep the comments and feedback coming. I like it. Totally digress there. But anyway, so in deference to my Southern Hemisphere watchers who are not in the summer, it occurs to me that tees and tanks are something that we can do year-round as layering pieces in the shoulder seasons. So whether you're in, we'll be heading out of spring into summer or fall into winter, make it a little bit more inclusive. And then while I am not a crocheter, I know there are crocheters out there. I will try to throw in a few crochet inspo patterns when I do that video too. So I'm going to make it a make along so folks can join in whatever capacity they like. So I thought I would just maybe mention today. So I do have one item I'm going to cast on. So I'm going to just to let people clear off the needles if they want to. because some people do that. I don't. But, although I'm kind of trying to get out of my winter knits and into my summer knits in my case. But to clear off their needles, do some project planning. I think I will formally have the make along for June, July, and August. But I will allow whips of, like, this is going to be very casual, very informal. I will try to do, I think I'm going to do some pattern prizes, each I don't know if I'll do it every episode, but at least each month during the Cal. Just because that's pretty easy with shipping and stuff. I can easily get that out to folks. Maybe I'll do a gift certificate or something at the end. But so anyway, so I hope folks will plan to join in. I would love to have a nice sense of community. Question for you all is, we can do a little bit of like kind of chatter on YouTube, but that's not really so easy to do. So the other two options, just depending on how many folks are interested and your feedback in the comment below would be great, is I can either set up an Instagram group, I could set up a Discord group. So Discord is a free platform if you're not familiar. Knitty Natty did her Cal in there. I actually had an account because my son does some gaming, and I have one game I can play with him. And so it's a nice, easy platform. You can run multiple channels. So that's probably the one that I would lean to. I think it's easy to sign up. You just go out, and I don't recall there was any fees or anything for it. So anyway, like your feedback on, and I might be able to do it in Ravelry, but I know not everyone uses Ravelry. So just let me know your opinion, those of you who said you would like to participate, and we'll kind of get that set up. Again, kind of just casual. I probably will do, whichever platform I set up, I'll set up a finished objects. We'll do some works in progress and some chatter, and then I'll pull prizes from either works in progress or the finished objects channel on whichever platform that we set it up. So anyway, so that's a little bit about that, just as a reminder there for your planning purposes. So I've already started looking and talk about, actually I forgot that bag. Let me grab that bag and I'll talk to you about what I have cast on. So the first pattern that I have decided to cast on is going to be the Phoebe top, which is a pattern by Aimee Sher. And I originally started off, I actually wanted to knit the Chloe tee. And I had purchased the, I'll have to put a photo in because I know this flips the picture, but the Saona, Wool Dreamer Saona, which is a 50% wool, 50% cotton. And the colorway that I am using is 1985. This is pretty blue. I had originally, like I said, bought this specifically for the Phoebe top, but I did a gauge swatch. I know. And here, but I just cannot get the gauge recommended for that pattern. I'm getting too small a gauge, which is really unusual for me. So I have gone up a couple needle sizes, and I don't want to, the fabric is okay at the larger gauge, but I don't love it. I like it kind of better down in this range. So I went back to Ravelry and kind of looked for that gauge and this fabric, and the Phoebe top by Aimee Sher came up. Sher. I think it's Aimee Sher. Came up. And so this is real cute. It's a cabled got some hopefully video going here. It's a cabled tank, and just thought it was kind of a nice, it would be a good layering piece, as well as a good summer piece. So multiple seasons there. So the two suggested yarns are Knitting for Olive Pure Silk and the Wool Dreamers Saona. So that's fingering weight. And the recommended gauge is 28 stitches and 32 rows to 4 inches. So I actually am still a little off gauge even with this. So I did the gauge math, and I'm going down. I was between a size C and a D, and reading through her pattern notes, decided to go with the C, stay with the gauge that I was at, and then I really wanted an opportunity to knit one of Aimee Sher's patterns, because when you watch her podcast and listen to some of the things around the designing and read through the pattern notes, I think she's very detailed on fit. And so she gives, for instance, she'll give in this pattern, there's a straight option, a curvy option. The difference is more stitches on the front part to accommodate, different body shapes, right? And also has some optional bust shaping. So I think it will give me a good opportunity to measure or to adjust the fit along with that. So I did all the math, and I think it'll work out fine. So that is what I'm going to knit. So I have really just started. It's a bottom up so on the ribbing. So interesting. It asked for a stretchy cast on, which I'm pretty pleased with this. So I actually very recently taught myself the German twisted cast on, which I now absolutely love. It's totally what everybody says. But darned if you know, even though I measured out the yarn tail, it's a long tail cast on, I was like 10 stitches and my tail was too short. So I did the Jenny's surprisingly stretchy cast on, which I had not done. I did find it fiddly, and I did find it hard to keep it adjusted so it was similar enough to the German twisted cast on, but because it uses the main yarn only, it was a nice option where normally you would just do a knitted cast on or something if you ran out, if you didn't need that stretchiness, but I think there's good stretch there, and since it's the bottom, obviously want to be careful with that. So barely started, but that's one if you have an interest. And then just to give a couple of other inspiration shots of some things. So I am starting, and I will leave a link below, of a Ravelry bundle for the Tees and Tanks Mal. If you put any suggestions in the comments below, or message me on Instagram, however you want to handle it, be glad to include yours in that list. But just so, I'm not going to talk about every single pattern, even if I do a whole video on it, but I'm just kind of pulling out some of the patterns that are favorites, or things that I'm looking for, maybe that's something that's a little bit different. So all right, take two, because I didn't hit record the last time I ran through this. We're going to talk a little bit about, get some inspiration for a few possible items. A couple of them I've knit, some that I have not knit. So in addition to the Phoebe top that I just spoke about, maybe I will give you a quick stand up here of what I'm wearing. This is the Heart of Glass tee, which is a pattern by Mary Ann Aurelia of Lyrical Knits. This is a pattern designed for fingering weight yarn, was published in October of 2017. And while this does not look like a tee or a tank, the actual pattern is, she actually shows it sleeveless. So I think what I would do for a summer garment, I mean, you could certainly do the tunic-ish length that she shows, but I think you could do it with either I think for work it would be nice to have a short or 3/4 sleeve, would be a nice kind of year-round seasonal tee, or to do it with sleeveless and maybe shorten the length a little bit. I love the lace on the hem. And then I actually repeated the lace on the cuff. That is not in the pattern, but I really, really have enjoyed that. I wear this a lot. I would probably size down a little bit, but I think the fit is overall quite good. And she talks you through, I mean, for a first sweater, I think I have princess seams in the front and the back for the shaping, and she talks you through that in the pattern. So definitely one to check out there. I spoke a little bit of it. So I have and I will add that one to the Ravelry bundle as well. But in that bundle, I've put a few other, just kind of collecting things that are things I have had in my different queue, or favorites in that tees and tanks category. Trying to highlight a few different things. Again, if you've got some that you really, really like, I'd love you to put that in the comments below or send me a message, and I will add that to the bundle, and I will put the bundle link in the show notes. So and I'll highlight a few more on a future episode. But a couple other I wanted to call out. The Phoebe tee, obviously the Phoebe tank that I'm knitting now, Phoebe top. The Chloe tee, I do think is a really nice basic tee, so encourage you to take a look at that one as well. And the Breezeway, which I've spoken about a few times, I love this pattern. I am going to knit another one. I'm going to try it in a wool cotton. This, the Breezeway is by Laura Ayler of Fogbound Knits. This was published in May of 2019. Fingering weight, 22 stitches and 33 rows. It is a size inclusive pattern. And it just has really nice finishing, and generally I think looks good on a lot of body types. So I think that is nice. It has a really interesting sleeve and underarm construction that I think gives it a nice fit. The Camden Camisole, which is by the Knit Pearl Girl, so Sophie, the Knit Pearl Girl. I love this pattern. I test knit this for Sophie last year. It's a DK weight pattern, and 23 stitches and 28 rows. I loved knitting it. It knit up very nicely. It has a phenomenal fit because it's this wide rib, and it's very adjustable, but it's kind of like figure hugging, but not overly so. Anyway, it's probably one of my absolute favorites from a tank perspective. So definitely would encourage you to check that one out. Tolsta Tee by Rebecca Clow. So if you're kind of newer to garment knitting or not really sure where to go with it, this is just a really nice basic that you can do a lot with. Or if you're really familiar with garment knitting and just want to play with patterns or colors, this would be a good just basic pattern to kind of riff off of, if you will. And that was published in May of 2023. 17 stitches and 27 rows is the gauge on that one. Let's see. And I think the other one I was going to call out today is a pretty new pattern by Joji Locatelli. Yeah, it was published just April 2025. DK weight is the Sailoress top. And I just think this, I mean, she just has such nice detail. And so it's a sleeveless top with a really pretty lace detail on the front and the back and some on the shoulders. So again, 10 sizes. And the gauge on that, 20 stitches, 31 rows. So just a few things to get you thinking about what you might like to knit, to join in. And I will try to feature some crochet. I did put, there's maybe 2 in there. If you are a crocheter, please put some suggestions down below, because I don't have a lot in there, but I will try to add some of those to the bundle as well. So that is all for me today. Thank you so much for spending some time. Please leave a comment. Let me know what you're working on. And until we talk again, happy knitting, spinning, dyeing, and weaving. Thanks, y'all.